Good morning, students. From your first flight test book, we are doing chapter Madam Rides the Bus. Her first journey, what careful, painstaking, elaborate plans she had to make for it. She had thriftily saved whatever stray coins came her way, resisting every temptation to buy peppermints, toys, balloons, and the like. And finally, she had saved a total of 60 paise. How difficult it had been, particularly that day at the village fair. But she had resolutely stifled a strong desire to ride the merry-go-round, even though she had the money. So, to fulfill her desire, her yearn to go for a bus ride, Valli had done what she had made elaborate plans. She had diligently and carefully made sure that how she is going to spend her money thriftily and how she is going to make sure that whatever stray coins can come to her, she is going to save all that money, all that coins. She, in fact, resisted herself, prevented herself from all sorts of temptations of peppermints, toys, balloons, and the similar things. And she saved 60 paise. And then she was determined to suppress her desire to go on a merry-go-round in the village fair so that she can save that amount of money also for her desire, for her yearn to go for this bus ride. After she had enough money saved, her next problem was how to slip out of the house without her mother's knowledge. But she managed this without too much difficulty. Even every day after lunch, her mother would nap from about 1 to 4 or so. Valli always used these hours for her excursions as she stood looking from the doorway of her house or sometimes even ventured out into the village. Today, these same hours could be used for her first excursion outside the village. So, after the problem of money to collect money was resolved, Vali thought now how to slip out of the house without coming to the knowledge of the parents, especially mother. So, how to move out of the house stealthily. So, it was pretty easy for Vali. She knew that mother would take a sleep, she will take a nap, and she used to take a nap from 1 to 4. And this time period, when the mother used to take naps, Vali used to utilize this in pleasure trips. She used to stand on the doorway of the house or venture into the village, and these very hours at this time she wanted to use for her first excursion out of the village to town. The bus rolled on, now cutting across a bare landscape, now rushing through a tiny hamlet or past an odd wayside shop. Sometimes the bus seemed on the point of gobbling up another vehicle that was coming towards them, or a pedestrian crossing the road. But lo, somehow it passed on smoothly, leaving all obstacles safely behind. Trees came running towards them, but then stopped as the bus reached them and simply stood there, helpless for a moment by the side of the road before rushing away in the other direction. So now the bus, taking up a shorter route, turned to a bare landscape, to a tiny hamlet, to a wayside shop, and the bus seemed to be gobble up the another vehicle. That is, the another vehicle was coming up in foot speed towards the bus, and it seemed that the bus would gobble, it would greedily devour the other vehicle or the pedestrian that was crossing the road. And look, somehow it passed on smoothly, but then the ride was very smooth and the bus left all obstacles behind. And it seemed to Vali that the trees from the bus window, she felt that the trees were running. Now, students, as the vehicle picks up speed, so the objects outside the window seems to be running. Similarly, Wali felt that the trees were running, and as the bus reaches to those object, it seemed that the object will stop. But then the bus would head to its own direction and destination, so the outside object used to rush away past the bus. Suddenly, Wally clapped her hands with glee. A young cow, tail high in the air, was running very fast, right in the middle of the road, right in front of the bus. The bus slowed to a crawl, and the driver sounded his horn loudly again and again. But the more he honked, the more frightened the animal became, and the faster it galloped, always right in the front of the bus. Now, suddenly, Wally started to clap her hands with happiness. Why? Because there was a young cow with tail up high in the air, and it was in the very middle of the road in front of their bus. So the driver had to slow down the speed to a crawl. Driver started honking, making the sound of the horn so that the cow leaves the road. But then, the minute he makes the sound, the cow started jumping and running fast because the cow was getting scared and frightened with the honk of the bus, and in the right middle of the road in front of the bus, and it's not leaving the road. Somehow this was very funny to Vali. She laughed and laughed until there were tears in her eyes. Hey lady, haven't you laughed enough? Called the conductor. Better save some for tomorrow. So Wally laughed, seeing the cow jump at the honking of the horn, and there were tears in her eyes, and the conductor had to ask her to keep some laughter for the next day. At last, the cow moved off the road, and soon the bus came to a railroad crossing. A speck of a train could be seen in the distance, growing bigger and bigger as it drew near. Then it rushed past the crossing gate with a tremendous roar and rattle, shaking the bus. Then the bus went on and passed the train station. From there, it transversed a busy, well laid out shopping street and turning entered a wider thoroughfare. Such big, bright looking shops, what glittering displays of clothes and other merchandise, such big crowds. Struck dumb with wonder while he gaped at everything. So when the cow moved off the road, the bus headed to a railroad. Wally, through the bus window, notices the speck of train at a distance. But then she notices as the train comes through, she notices the visual very clear as the train grew bigger and bigger, and it drew with all its roaring and rattling sound and shaking the bus. The train, with all its speeds, moved from the crossing gate, and then the bus headed and past the railway station, the train station, and then the bus transversed, that is, travelled across a busy shopping street, and from that it entered the main road in the town. And there were huge, big, beautiful, bright looking shops, and there were displays of clothes and various things for sale, and there was a huge crowd. And Wally, who was noticing everything from the window, was wonderstruck with amazement at the beauty of the town, with bright shops and glittering displays and crowd all around. She was all amazed and she was open mouthed. She was wonderstruck. Then the bus stopped and everyone got off except Wally. Hey lady, said the conductor, aren't you ready to get off? This is as far as your 30 paise takes you. No, Wally said. I'm going back on the same bus. She took out another 30 paise from her pocket and handed the coins to the conductor. Why? Is something the matter? No, nothing's the matter. I just felt like having a bus ride, that's all. So the bus reaches the town, it comes to a halt, passengers started leaving the bus, they got off the bus, and then conductor tells to Wali that with the amount of 30 paisa, the bus takes you for this ride, so won't you get down? Wali announces no. She said that on the very same bus she would be again returning back to the village, and then she hands over the another amount of 30 paise for the return journey. So conductor was amazed. He questions her, what happened? What is the matter? Valli announces that it is just her yearn for a bus ride that she took this bus ride. Don't you want to have a look at the sights now that you are here? All by myself, oh, I would be much too afraid. Greatly amused by the girl's way of speaking, the conductor said, but you weren't afraid to come in the bus. Nothing to be afraid of about that, she answered. So the conductor says to her that because you are already in town, why don't you get down and have a look at the beauty around the sights around? So Valli announces she would be all by herself and that she would be afraid to get down the bus in a town. So conductor was amazed that you weren't afraid when you boarded the bus. She said there was nothing to be afraid of for a bus ride because that was her desire, a yearn to go for this bus ride. Well, then, why not go to that stall over there and have something to drink? Nothing to be afraid of about that either. Oh no, I couldn't do that. So the conductor says, okay, you don't want to be lost in the town, but then you can do one thing, you can go to that stall and have something to drink. But then Vali says, no. Well, then let me bring you a cold drink. No, I don't have enough money. Just give me my ticket, that's all. So the conductor says, okay, no problem. Then in that case, I'll get you a drink. But then Vali again says, no, she says she does not have money and she wants her ticket. It will be my treat and not cost you anything. No, no, she said firmly. Please, no. The conductor shrugged and they waited until it was time for the bus to begin the return journey. Again, there weren't many passengers. So the conductor said, what? That I'll get you a cold drink. I won't charge you anything. I won't take any amount from you. It would be a treat from my side. But then Wali said no, and then they waited for the passengers to board the bus, but then there weren't many passengers for this return trip back from town to the village.